everybody. Welcome to Zone Defense. We talk all things NBA and NFL. Be sure to follow us on Spotify, Zone Defense Podcast, on Twitter at Zone Defense Pod, and smash that subscribe button down below because it really helps out our channel a lot. Also, let us know if you think Justin Tucker's 66-yard game-winning field goal was lucky or all skill. Today we will be doing our Week 4 NFL game picks. How's it going, guys?
Thanks, Drew. I really appreciate that question off the top. That's a heartbreaker right there. But anyways, it's another great week for me. I guess another day at the top of the standings once again. Completely uncharted territory for myself, but I'm excited to keep it going and hopefully continue the lead throughout the next couple weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't a great week for me. I'm falling behind a little bit, but I've been making some bold picks. I think they'll start hitting eventually. But without further ado, let's jump right into the news and notes, man. I mean, this is there was a lot of injuries last week, some reoccurring injuries there. AJ Brown and Julio. I don't know what's up with that Tennessee medical team, but the hamstrings over there are weak. Both guys, I expect to both miss. Juju banged up a little bit, missed some of the game, I believe, with a rib injury, and he might play, I think. I'm not sure. And Dalvin Cook went through some individual drills with a high ankle sprain. I'm still unsure. I think that's a game time decision. Quentin Nelson, it looked kind of bad. I think it ended up being a high ankle sprain. I know he got carted off, but he probably missed a couple weeks. James White looks like he'll be out for the season with bad hip injury. Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard went out basically on back-to-back plays. I think both with hamstrings. A lot of hamstrings this year. A lot of hamstrings, a lot of ribs is what we've seen so far. But I think both guys will probably be all right. Maybe they'll miss a week. Blake Martinez, KJ Hamler, both done for the season. Torn ACLs. Sucks, especially for Hamler. His is even where it's not just ACL, I believe. I think it was more than that. So tough for him. Hopefully he can recover. Both of those guys can. And then Christian McCaffrey, unfortunately for all of my fantasy teams, with the hamstring injury, hurt a couple of my teams this week. But I think he's gonna be all right. It seems like it doesn't seem like a super serious injury. We got a couple different moves. Richard Sherman today going to Tampa Bay. That's a big move. I like that move a lot for them. Josh Gordon to the Chiefs as of right now. He's reinstated. He's back. He's super athletic, but he's getting up there in age. We'll see if he's got anything left. I hope he can stay in the league for sure. But and then C.J. Henderson, the young corner, Jacksonville weirdly trades him to Carolina. I love the move for Carolina. Sucks that J.C. Horn went down with the injury, but when he's healthy, I like both of these guys a lot as a dynamic duo up and coming in the league. And then lastly, some guys maybe to return. A guy that's not on there, Deontay Johnson, returned to practice today. Claypool actually went down with an injury too. I don't think he practiced today, so that's another guy that isn't on there. But Antonio Brown off the COVID list, Miles Boykin and Rashad Bateman both taken off of short-term IR. And then lastly, Dalvin Cook. Like I said, he's getting some limited practices, but he's I think he's gonna miss another week, but we'll see. It's possible he's back out there. Madison did look good. I don't think they should rush him back, so we'll see. But that's basically it for the news and note, guys. Roman, you got anything to add there?
No, I mean, you were hyping up CMC at the beginning of our episode last week with him playing against the Texans. Unfortunately, he went down, but I think Hubbard will fill in there quite nicely over there.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely see it.
The only thing I really want to talk about with this is just shout out to the Jaguars for wasting a top 10 pick in the 2020 draft and then trading him about a year later. I mean, that's just embarrassing.
I think they got a third, and Dan Arnold was what it was. Maybe
it's embarrassing.
That's ridiculous.
And I feel bad for Dan Arnold because he was actually kind of playing kind of well. He had some nice connection there.
He's going to go to the black hole.
Yeah. Which I guess he could. I think he's still a relatively young guy. Maybe he can build a strong connection with Trevor Lawrence. But that sucks for him. And Richard Sherman, that's kind of cool too. Going to Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh Gordon to Kansas City. We actually kind of talked about this briefly off the air. I hope it works out for him, but it seems like all the time with this guy, it's like he gets on a good team and he has maybe one or two big games, and then unfortunately he ends up out of the league again. So I hope he's there and ready to go. It'd be great. He's super talented way back when with the Browns, but all the best to him. But I'm skeptical to say the least. But did you guys have anything else you wanted to add about the news and notes before we hop into the pick'em? Yes, Roman.
One quick note: LaShawn McCoy actually retired a couple days ago, so that's important to note. Today he hitchhiked his way to 2 Super Bowls, so good for him. But other than that, a good career overall. I mean, he didn't do anything for the Chiefs and Bucks.
You had to throw that one.
He didn't do anything.
Hey man, a good career for Shady McCoy. 6 Pro Bowls all time. One of my favorite running backs to watch with this really signature carrying the ball out for everybody else to have, basically palming the football while he carries the ball. He was electric, really fun guy to watch. But his time has come. Kind of sucks, but he could be a Hall of Famer. We'll see. 6 Pro Bowls is pretty impressive.
2-time Super Bowl champ too.
Yeah, he'll
So
probably be a Pro Bowler, or not a Pro Bowler. He'll probably be a Hall of Famer, to be honest.
I
I
don't
can see
know.
it.
I gotta
Six
look at his
six Pro
stats.
Bowls is impressive, man.
Who cares? It's like okay. I don't know. I'm not as big on the Pro Bowls as you are, maybe, but
He's a good
I look
player.
at the stats and how they compare to guys. I mean,
He's got
like,
some nice stats.
I guess if you look. I don't want to get into a LaShawn McCoy Hall of Fame case discussion, but if you look at guys like Terrell Davis way back when, he had like 2 good years and he made it to the Hall of Fame, and that was like the late '90s. And LaShawn McCoy, I don't think has an MVP, but
No.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. That's an off-season conversation. We can have that conversation later, along with Eli Manning. I think we have to have the Eli Manning conversation of Hall of Fame before we have LaShawn McCoy.
All right, fellas, let's jump into the pick'em now.
Yeah, we got an enticing matchup here for the first one between the Jags and the Bengals. Battle of the first overall picks. Chris, how about you start us off here? Who do you like in this matchup?
Yeah, well, I don't like the Jags. Let's just be real. I'm going to jump into it quickly. Since he's going to win this game, I got prop bets on Joe Mixon. He's on my fantasy team. I'm hoping it's not a repeat of last week where I'm really bullish on him. I think he's going to run for over 125. At least that money was where my mouth is right there. I got him down for that and a tutty. I need him to do that to hit a nice parlay. But I think he's going to have a nice game. I think Jamar Chase is going to have a nice game. T. Higgins is out, which stinks, and that should have been on the injury thing. But Jacksonville sucks. Let's be real. They might not win a game all year. Trevor Lawrence doesn't look great, but honestly, I can't even blame him because I think the coaching staff sucks. I think everything about Jacksonville sucks, and they should move to London. Okay.
Wow, gee. I don't know about that last.
That's how you
take,
really
but,
feel, Chris.
I mean, yeah, I think Cincinnati's going to. This could be an ugly game depending on what kind of Cincinnati we see, but this is a game that they definitely have to win to move their record to 3-1 and top of the division. That'd be pretty huge for them, but a loss would be very brutal to them.
Yeah, and shout out to, I know we're ripping on the Jags, and I'm with you, Chris. I think the only chance they have to win a game this year is when they play the Texans again later in the season. And the Texans actually haven't looked terrible. They haven't looked good, but they haven't looked terrible. The Bengals, though, I mean, shout out to them. They've had a great start to the year. They're 2-1, beating some quality teams, at least on paper, maybe. They beat Pittsburgh. They also beat Minnesota, who had a nice win last week. So things looking really good for the Bengals. I still don't think they're going to be a playoff team. But 3-1, I mean, that's a really nice start for Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And Jamar Chase, despite the offseason kind of turmoil he went through, both on and off the field, he's had a really nice start to his probably very promising NFL career. Now we've got the Lions and the Bears. The Lions, they should have won last week. Let's just be real. I mean, you could say that, or you could say that they didn't deserve to win because Hollywood Brown couldn't catch the ball in the end zone. Lots of things you could say about the Lions, but we'll leave it to our resident Lions lover guy to start us off here with the Bears and the Lions game. So, who do you like, Chris or Roman?
Thanks, Drew. The Lions, there was a lot to like in that game last week. We made Lamar Jackson, the entire rushing offense, look a little pedestrian than normal. We kept him contained most of the time. I'm sure there were some lucky drops with Hollywood in the second half, but
and a lucky kick. Don't forget that, Roman.
Yeah,
lucky
it hit the crossbar. So I mean,
no NFL record can be a lucky kick, man. I've already had this conversation with you. No.
Well, anyways, for the Bears at least, it was a brutal loss for them last week against the Browns. I mean, they gave up 7-something sacks, only 1 yard of total offense, net yard, 1, and they had Justin Fields starting. I mean, if they can come out with Dolan or Foles or Fields, I'm taking the Lions, and this is one of the games of the season. I'm actually going to smash them confidently in this game. I think they can come out and win this game.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pick Chicago. They're going to win this game. If Justin Fields starts, he's going to bounce back. Their defense is too good. They still did a decent job. I know the score doesn't indicate, but the Browns had the ball all game, and it's not like they got apps. Their defense didn't get cooked out there. They contained Nick Chubb pretty well. Baker didn't do a lot. It was Kareem Hunt had a couple of nice blow-up plays, and they kicked a ton of field goals. It was simple as that. I think Chicago bounces back in a big way this week. I'm starting their defense against the Lions in my redraft league with full confidence this week, as they're gonna. I think they might put the smackdown on the Lions. To be honest, it's home. I think this is a get right game for Chicago and a get wrong game for Detroit.
Well, I'll tell you what, Chris, you're on an island because we got
Good.
two guys picking the Lions this week. I am with you, Roman. I don't think they're a good team. I think they're going to win 3 to 4 games tops, but I don't know. They haven't looked terrible to start the year. The Bears are coming off a really bad loss last week. So yeah, I think Justin Fields, I think he was a full participant in practice yesterday, I believe. I didn't see what happened today, but he's probably going to be playing. But I mean, I don't know. I like the Lions a little bit. I mean, it's going to be a close game. It's probably going to be an easy win here for Chris, but I don't know. If it was based on my picks, the Lions would be 2-2 right now. So uh, go Lions, go. But yeah, that'll be an interesting game now. It's probably the only time all year that two of the three of us are going to take the Lions to win a game. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. All right, now we got the Washington football team and the Atlanta Falcons. The football team used to pride themselves on their defense. Their defense has looked awful. Their offense hasn't looked great. The Falcons finally got out of the losing column last week with a big win. Although I liked what I saw from the Falcons there, it's hard. Man, I kind of want to pick the Falcons. I want to go crazy here. Why not? Who cares? You only live once. I'm going to pick the Falcons. I don't love the football team at all. I think their defense is one of the worst in the league right now, which is
Wow.
pretty crazy to think. I don't think that on paper. I'm just in terms of all the stats and
Yeah.
everything. It's one of the worst to start the year. Obviously, they play Buffalo, which isn't great, but they played the Chargers. They also played New York, and they looked awful against New York as well. And I don't think they're a dominant offense by any means. So the Falcons. They looked kind of decent last week. They got maybe Kyle Pitts didn't have a great game, but maybe he can kind of figure it out against Washington. Same with Calvin Ridley. This might be an easy win for you guys, but I'll go with the Falcons.
Yeah, give me Washington. I'll let you have your fun on that spiel. This is a get right game for Washington. Matt Ryan sucks. Arthur Smith, I don't think they really played that great last week. The Giants kind of just beat themselves. Falcons offense really didn't look that great, and I just don't see it with this team. I think they're one of the worst teams in the league. I think they're going to be drafting really high, probably going to take a quarterback. Give me Washington. I think this is a get right game for that defense. I think they shut them down.
I'm taking Washington as well, but I am a little bit more concerned than you are, Chris. I mean, they didn't look great last week, and obviously they played a good team with Buffalo. But I mean, with Heineke as your quarterback, he came off a high the week before, so he hasn't looked that good. I mean, Atlanta, they could be coming off a ride in from their momentum on the win last week, but they didn't look super impressive either. Gibson, I don't even know if he's going to play. He was downgraded the past couple of days in practice, so if he's out, that's gonna hurt them a lot. But I'm just hoping that their defense, is what they should be, and if it is, they should dominate this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably gonna be a loss for me. I'm already regretting picking Atlanta, but I can't go back now. I'm already on the Matt Ryan bandwagon, so okay, we'll have to live with that decision. Okay, now this should be a pretty easy game to decide. I don't even know if we have to really dive into it. Houston, shout out to them. They've looked decent, but Buffalo is either that was the definition of a get right game for them last week against Washington. I think they're the team that was as good as advertised as the AFC Championship team that made it to the AFC Championship game last year. So I really like the Bills. Do anybody have any takes they want to talk about this game, or do you want to just move on?
Move on. This is a rematch from playoffs a few years ago when Houston somehow beat them. It's not going to be that way this time. Josh Allen's just going to eat.
I agree.
Sounds good. All right. Carolina and Dallas. This is an enticing matchup. I believe Chris, start us off here. Who do you like, the Sam Darnold Panthers or the Dak Prescott Cowboys?
I've been riding
Will the
hot
Panthers be 4-0?
I've been riding really hot with the Panthers, man, and it really pains me to do this. I'm gonna pick Dallas. They're at home. Carolina, I would have picked them to maybe pull the upset in this one, but CMC's injury, I think I have some concerns about that offense. The Carolina defense is for real, but this is an ultimate test against Dallas. Tony Pollard may miss, so that could be a decent thing for them, but Cooper and CD are going to be. I mean, Cooper is going to be healthier this week. So he's not just going to be out there running, getting his cardio in. I'm assuming he's going to be more involved. JC Horn not out there. CJ Henderson brand new to the team. I think Dallas. I think they're going to win for sure.
For me, I've successfully predicted all three of Dallas's games so far, surprisingly. So call me the Dallas guru, if you will. No, I'm just kidding. But even if the Panthers did have CMC, I think I'm taking Dallas anyways. I think they had a great showing on Monday night, albeit it was Philadelphia, and they did make Jalen Hurts look pretty bad. But I think they can do the same with Sam Darnold. I mean, it's a great start. They're 3-0 so far. They can still have a chance of the wild card if they keep it up. I think they're a team to be reckoned with, but I'm going to go with Dallas on this one.
I think it's gonna be a close game, but I'm also going with Dallas. I wasn't super impressed with Carolina last week against Houston on Thursday Night Football. They didn't look that great, especially after CMC went down. And DJ Moore, obviously, he's healthy, he's going to be playing, but he also got a little bit dinged up there as well. So yeah, kind of an easy pick for me with Dallas, but I do think it's going to be an entertaining game, and it's going to be really fun to see whether or not Carolina can be 4-0. But shout out to their defense has been kind of solid as well. But without CMC, I think we might see, unfortunately, maybe a little bit of regression from Sam Darnold from what we've seen the first 3 weeks of the year. Okay, now we've got Indianapolis and Miami, two teams. I think they're both 1-2, if I'm not mistaken.
Indy's 0-3.
Indy's 0-3. That's right. I knew they both sucked. But these were teams that had playoff aspirations to start the year. So huge pivotal game in week 4 here. Roman, start us off. Who do you like?
For me, this is kind of a tough game to pick. I mean, I'm surprised the Indy's 0-3. I mean, with Wentz, they should be playing at a high level, although he is playing with 2 sprained ankles. And Miami's playing with a backup quarterback. It actually looked surprisingly decent last week against Vegas, who's undefeated now. This is a toss-up to me, honestly, but since Miami is home, I'm going to give it to them, honestly.
Yeah, this one's really tough for me because Miami is home, but they're playing with a backup quarterback. Honestly, still might be the best quarterback in this game. You know what? Nope, I'm changing. I was gonna pick Indy. This is Jacoby Brissett's game. This is a revenge game. I'm picking Miami. I don't care. I was definitely gonna pick Indy. I didn't even realize that. Give me Brissett. I'm riding high with the dog, and they're gonna win this game. And Indy's gonna be done if they lose this one. I don't know what they should just tank and get a quarterback in the draft or something. I don't know.
This might be my easy win here. This might balance out my Falcons pick right now. I'm very confident in the Colts to win this game. They got the talent on paper. Miami, they're not going to have unless they trade for Deshaun Watson, but it sounds like that might not happen until next week. I don't like Miami at all. They're not a great team right now. And I think, I mean, they did play nice. They did play well against Vegas last week. But I also am not sure how good Vegas is. And they choked that down the stretch. So yeah, I like the Colts. I think they're a well-coached team. They're not going to go 0-3. Miami's a very beatable team. So give me Indy. Hopefully, this is a must-win for me, honestly, too. Especially after that Falcons pick. Not to keep going back to that. All right, now we got Browns, Vikings. I'm pretty sure was I the only person that picked the Vikings last week? I'm not sure. I think so.
You were.
Big win for them. I think they've been one of a very underrated team. I think they've had a really solid start to their year, but they had some kind of bad losses mixed in there to start the year. But they finally got a win last week. The Browns, one of the best teams in the NFL, 2-1, easily could be 3-0. Honestly, if they didn't choke that game away to the Chiefs in Week 1. And for me, I got to go with the Browns. As much as I like the Vikings, I do think they're a solid team. Kirk Cousins has been really good. I know I was watching Chris about to purchase a Justin Jefferson jersey earlier today. So I know Justin Jefferson, he loves him. He's a very good player. Dalvin, unfortunately, I think probably won't be playing again, as we mentioned earlier in the news and notes. And it's going to be a decent game. It's going to be closer than maybe a lot of people think. But give me the Browns in this matchup.
Yeah, I'll this is a tough one for me, man. Minnesota's home. They looked pretty good last week. Man, I'm tempted. You know what? I'm going to pick Minnesota. I'm going to go with my gut on this. Is a gut call for me. Minnesota looked really good last week. Their defense looked a lot better against Seattle. That was a huge win for that team. They're back home again. I think Cleveland's good, but I didn't think their offense was overly impressive. Odell is back. I think that's going to be a big factor. Minnesota's corners blow, but other than that, they've looked all right. Their 1-2 record doesn't indicate that this is a must win for them. And I think they get it done in a fun game and that I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, Minnesota isn't a slouch, and even if Cook is out, I mean, Madison's shown he can fill in quite nicely, so I don't think it'll change much in that perspective. I think it'll be another high-scoring game, similar to Minnesota's past couple weeks, but I'm going to go with Cleveland this week just because they have a better defense, and I think Myles Garrett is going to continue his momentum he had from last week.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Vikings pick a lot there, Chris, but I think Roman and I might win this one. But it's a ballsy pick. I appreciate that. I respect that. All right, now we got Giants Saints. This is kind of an interesting matchup too. Two weird teams, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The Saints have just had an up and down start to the year. They look kind of good, and they look really good, and they look really bad, and they look kind of okay. So up and down for them. And the Giants, kind of the same thing for the most part as well. So, Chris, I know you are a Daniel Jones believer. So who do you like in this match between the Saints and the G-Men?
Yeah, I believe that the amount of belief I have is that they're going to be 0-4 after this game. The Falcons was a must-win last week. New Orleans got back on track with their defense, really shutting down New England. Their offense is still, in my opinion, not very good. This is going to be an ugly, low-scoring game that, besides Alvin Kamara, I want no part of fantasy-wise, and Saquon, I guess. But besides the two running backs, I want no part of any player in this game. I think this could literally be like a 17-13, 17-10 game. But, it's two quarterbacks that kind of remind me of each other a little bit. I think Jameis and Daniel Jones share a lot of qualities on the field. Jones has looked all right this year. Like I said, I don't believe in him, but he's looked okay. So I don't know. It's tough, but give me New Orleans.
Yeah, I remember when Eli Manning and Drew Brees clashed the Titans. They had some great battles back in the day. I'm pretty sure they had one of the highest scoring games in NFL history, I think, at the time. It was in New Orleans. That was a good game. But now they're stuck with Daniel Jones and Jameis Winston. So, like you mentioned, Chris, I think it'll be a much low scoring game. But I'm going to go with the Saints as well at home. Kamara is a get right game for him, get his season back on track. Who's been not bad, but I think he can be a lot better than what he has been.
Man, I'm torn on this one, man, because the Saints are 2-1 right now. The one time I picked them is the one loss, and the other two wins they've had I picked against them. So I'm very conflicted of what to do. I do think the Saints are going to win this game, though. So I'm going to go with them. I don't know if Jameis is the answer, but he's a solid quarterback. I also don't know if Daniel Jones is the answer. So it's going to come down to those kind of role players, and I do think the Saints have better role players than the Giants do. So yeah, give me the Saints, but I think it's going to be a very close game, even though none of us picked them. And the Giants are going to be right there in it to the end. Roman's already jumping the gun here, picking the Titans over the Jets. Thought maybe the Jets would be better, to be honest with you, with Zach Wilson, Robert Saleh, the juice there, but they've been awful. So I'm right there with you. Titans easily. They've been a very good team as well to start the season. So Chris, usually he's the first one to put his stuff in. He has nothing there right now. So who do you like it? Are you picking the Jets, Chris?
I was just I happened to see an update. I'm not picking the Jets in this one. I saw an update. Carlos Hyde is not playing tonight, so James Robinson's going to have a really big game. I just happened to see that. Looked on Twitter really quick, but Tennessee, even without their top two receivers, which is kind of scary. This is a perfect week to have them rest and get healthy against this absolutely putrid Jets team. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game without them. I think it's going to be all Derrick Henry. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out there and runs for 200 yards and 3,000 touchdowns too, because they don't really have anybody else to go to. I expect it to be a heavy. Honestly, I don't know what Ryan Tannehill's prop bet for rushing is, but I would take the over on that too, because he's probably going to be on the move a lot when they do throw the ball, because they really don't. Chester Rogers isn't a target that I want to. I'd be throwing the ball Derrick Henry every play, but they're going to win this game regardless. I think they could go out there and put 11 scarecrows on defense, and Zach Wilson would still find a way to throw interceptions. So, yeah, the Jets suck.
I completely agree. Let's move on. We got the Chiefs and the Eagles. The Chiefs are below 500 at 1-2 after their loss to the Chargers last week. That was one of probably the worst games Patrick Mahomes has ever played, I would say, with all those interceptions and turnovers and everything. They still almost won, which shows that they're still a very good team. But the fact they lost, it's not great. It's been 2 rough weeks for the Chiefs. Hard to kind of think about that when you think about how dominant they've been. And then they face an Eagles team here who's not great. They obviously got plowed by Dallas on Monday Night Football, but they're not awful. So this could be maybe a closer game than people expect. But I think Chris, you're up here. Who do you like between the Chiefs and the Eagles?
Yeah, I'll take the Chiefs in this one. I actually am interested in this game. I think it's going to be a fun one to watch for sure. But my interest doesn't mean that Philly's going to win. It is in home in Philly. I think they could keep this game close. I think Jalen Hurts. Casey's defense stinks. Like, they were bad, and then their offense has turned the ball over a ton. Philly could win this game. I don't think it's impossible, but I'm going to take the Chiefs. I think they have a nice get-right game. Their offense is probably going to shred this defense, and then I think Hurts, I think he's going to play a good game, but I'm worried about that Kansas City defense, man. They're bad. Like, they're like they're like historically bad through 3 games, and Justin Herbert looked unbelievable last week, and he's a great player, but they made him look that's one of the best I've seen him play, and he found whoever he wanted in that game. So we'll see.
Well, for Kansas City, this is the first time they're under 500 since 2015. I think I saw as a stat. That's kind of crazy. And obviously coming off back-to-back losses for Mahomes, I think they're going to come out with a vengeance. This is a get-right game, and although I like Jalen Hurts, I want him to do well. I think this is a game for Kansas City to lose.
I don't have too much to add there. You guys pretty much touched on all the points. I think the Eagles they're going to put up a respectable fight,
Yeah.
and it might be a closer game than people expect. And there's definitely a roadmap for them to win. But yeah, give me the Chiefs in a bounce back game. I feel like we said the same thing last week, though. And they obviously didn't bounce back, so it'll be crazy if they go to 1-3. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be pretty nuts. Makes things really interesting here down the stretch for them. But now we've got an NFC West rivalry, two of probably the hottest teams in the NFL right now with the Cardinals and the Rams. I know where Roman likes to go with this pick, most likely. So I'll have him start us off. Between the Cardinals and the Rams, who are you picking in week 4?
Yeah, I mean, both teams had great performances last week. I mean, Arizona, they kind of let Jacksonville in late. I mean, I'm not too concerned about that, though. But Rams dominated from start to finish with the Bucks. That's a huge win for them in terms of tiebreaker playoff implications. So go on them. Both undefeated coming into this game. It's going to be a hard-fought game. But, of course, I'm going to go with the Rams. I think, when they're home, they got to win these type of games. Stafford will have a huge day. I mean, he's very familiar with the Cardinals. He literally played them every year with Detroit. So
Yeah, that's true.
I think this would be a good game.
Man, Drew, you want to go, and then I can think about. I need to think about my pick for a
Okay.
second.
You looked mad, so I was going to let you go first.
No, I don't.
But
know
yeah,
who
I'm going with the Rams as well. Like Roman said, no matter how bad the Lions teams were, for some reason we found a way to beat Arizona. Even last year we beat Arizona, which is kind of crazy. So the Rams look like I forgot who we had going to the Super Bowl. I think I had the Rams going to the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure
So
Roman, you did too. And they've looked every bit of that as that contender. As good as Arizona's been, they've had a relatively easier schedule to start the year for the most part, especially after with Jacksonville last week. So, yeah, give me the Rams. They look super, super good. And barring any more injuries, I think they're going to be a Super Bowl contender, maybe even the Super Bowl favorite right now, especially with the way Kansas City's been looking.
You know what? LA ain't going 17-0. Give me the Cardinals. I'm gonna do it. I don't feel it's like your Atlanta pick. I don't feel great about, but I feel like this Arizona team is being slept on. I mean, I did the same thing last year. I pick them almost every single week, and hey, it might work out. It might not. I think they're a good team, a team that I think they need to win this game. I mean, they're 3-0 right now. Somebody's gonna be not going to be undefeated after this week, but I think Arizona has a chance. I think Kyler's going to come out and play really good because he did not. Roman said that they kind of let Jacksonville back in the game. It was more Jacksonville had a lead at halftime because of that Prater field goal, but then they really dominated that second. Arizona dominated in the second half of that game, and I think Kyler looked a lot better. Their defense got a nice pick six. Byron Murphy's a great player. That defensive line, I think, is going to get some pressure on Stafford, and Darrell Henderson could miss the game too potentially. I'm not sure about his status, but I think that has an impact too with their running game. They did look awesome against Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay's secondary is not great either. I don't know. I'm definitely taking the underdog here, but I'm going with my Cardinals. I'm a big Cardinals guy. It's kind of like Roman is with the Rams. I do like the Cardinals, and they're kind of like my homer team that I like to pick a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be one of the games of the week, I think for sure, this matchup. And another possible game of the week is another NFC West matchup. I don't know why they combine these two rivalries in the same week, but we got the Niners and the Seahawks. I think this is going to be another very, very good game, very close game. I was kind of, as you were talking there, Chris, I was trying to figure out where I was going to go. I think ultimately I'm going to go with San Francisco. I know they lost last week to Green Bay, and I believe I picked them to win last week against Green Bay. And that was a loss for me, so that sucked. But it was a very good game, very close. Seattle, I think they're what we thought they were. We thought they were going to be just a good team. Nothing great, nothing awful. So I think it's going to be a close game. It's not going to surprise me if either you guys pick Seattle or if Seattle wins this game. But give me the Niners. I'm going to ride with them until I guess they suck. But I think they're a good team.
I'm going to ride with the Niners as well. I think they've looked a little bit. They made it. I mean, they almost beat the Packers last week, and they've played good in their other games too. I mean, they let the Lions back in a little bit in that game, but besides that, I feel like they've played pretty well. Jimmy G sucks. Let's face it, he's horrible. But Seattle's defense looks absolutely dog bleep to me. Like they just can't stop any man. Kirk Cousins looked unbelievable last week against him. I think Jimmy G, while not as good as Kirk Cousins, has good weapons. If Kittle's a little banged up, I think he's going to play, but I think I'm going to take the Niners. But if Kittle misses, I would have changed my pick to Seattle if I knew that right now.
Yeah, the Niners, they lost a heartbreaker. And Trey Lance, I mean, he had another touchdown too. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually gave him a full drive this week, depending on how the game goes. But Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the status of Elijah Mitchell and the other backfield is, but Sermon had a touchdown. He could lead the way this week. Sorry, Drew, for no Jox Patrick action last week, but Seattle on their end, they might not even have Tyler Lockett. That would be a huge loss to them. Russell Wilson will need to really put that offense on his shoulders. However, I'm gonna go differently, and I'm gonna pick Seattle just because I think that they need this game more than anyone in the division. I mean, they're in the cellar right now at 1-2. They definitely need this game to go back to 500. This is a must-win game for Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot on the line here. I mean, after this game, the Niners could be 3-1, and the Seahawks will be 1-3, or they could both be 2-2. So it's a lot riding on this matchup here for the playoffs division, which is crazy to think because it's only week 4, but it's crazy how these things matter even as early in the season as we are. But now we've got the Ravens and the Broncos. As we already mentioned, the Ravens beat the Lions unfortunately last week. They're 2-1. The Broncos are 3-0 though. They've had a cupcake schedule, to say the least, to start the year. Everyone's hyping up the Broncos. So, Chris, who do you like? Maybe the more established power in the Ravens or the up-and-coming Teddy Two Glove-led Broncos?
Yeah, I mean, part of me does want to take the Broncos in this one, but I am not picking against Baltimore, man. I think this Bronco team is yet to have a test this year. This is their first legitimate team that they're actually facing, and I think they're going to lose, man. I think this is a reality check for this Denver team. I think it's going to be a good game. I really like this late slate. I think this is one of the better ones. Honestly, probably going to be one of the best, if not the best we've had all year with. I mean, all 4 of these matchups are awesome, man. I love them all, but this one, I think I'm going to take Baltimore in as a little bit of a get-right game.
Yeah, congrats to Denver for going 3-0 and convincing the world that they're atop of their division and actually might be a good team. But this is a game Baltimore should win very easily. I mean, reports have said that coaches have called Aaron Glenn, the Lions defensive coordinator, and asked how to stop Lamar Jackson, even what his game plan was. I'm sure Vic Fangio's on the phone with that for sure. But no matter what advice they give Denver, I think it'll be a game that Baltimore bounces back. They didn't look super impressive versus the Lions, and this is a game they're definitely going to score more than 19 points for sure.
I want to pick Denver. I really want to pick Denver.
Pick him then.
No, I'm not going to pick Denver because I think last year I was trying to think of a pun that I could work the word fraud into Broncos, but I can't. It's not like the fraudinals of last year, but this is fraud written all over them. It's great that you're 3-0. I think they're yeah, Den fraud. It's great that they're 3-0. They could very easily make the playoffs from this point. They only got to go like 7-10, 7-7, right? They had to play 500 the rest of the way. They'll probably 10 wins. They'll probably make the playoffs. So that's probably very doable, but it's not happening this week against the Ravens. But yeah, it's great though. Great for Denver. Great for Teddy Two Gloves to get off to this good a start. 3-1 is still very good. All right, now we got the Steelers and the Packers. The Packers have looked very good after their week 1 destruction by Jameis Winston and the Saints. The Steelers look really bad since their week 1 destruction of the Bills. So 2 teams kind of going in opposite directions. Roman, where do you like them here?
Yeah, Pittsburgh also at the bottom of their division. So this is the game they definitely need to win. First time Big Ben and Aaron Rodgers are going up against since their Super Bowl, so that's pretty cool. However, one's actually looking a lot better than the other, and I'm going to go with that team and that quarterback, and that is Green Bay. So Aaron Rodgers wipe the floor with Big Ben, who can't even move 5 inches without falling.
Yeah, if anybody hasn't seen that, go on Twitter and just look up Big Ben. You'll see the video. It's incredible. But yeah, I think Pittsburgh can win this game for sure. I'm going to take Green Bay though. Pittsburgh really needs this game, to be honest. I mean, this is a tough division. Cleveland's playing well. Cincinnati surprisingly playing well. Baltimore is playing really well too after beating the Chiefs and then beating the Super Bowl contending Lions back-to-back weeks. But yeah, the Steelers, they really need this game. This is a must-win for them if they are going to make the playoffs. But honestly, I just don't see it. And in Lambeau, I just don't see Big Ben's got nothing. He's got nothing left.
Yeah, it really sucks because the Steelers, I don't think I had them making the playoffs, but I had them like right there in the mix. And they look so good after week 1, especially that defense. And then they've just lost to some teams that, admittedly, they're on paper, they're worse than, I would say, or that are worse than them. So yeah, it sucks for them. But Green Bay, shout out to them. We shout out to them and Aaron Rodgers more specifically because we were ripping on them after week 1. He was done. I know I picked the Lions to beat him, obviously, because I thought he was throwing the season. He's really shut up the haters here these last 2 weeks. All right, now we've got this is a big game, guys. I mean, I feel like there's a clear-cut winner here, but come on, this is Tom Brady's return to Foxborough. As we talked about earlier or we talked before we recorded. We talked about how last week I didn't watch Sunday Night Football. Admittedly, I watched the NASCAR race. But I gotta tell you what, I'll be watching the NASCAR race, but my main attention will be on this matchup on Sunday Night Football between the Tom Brady led Bucks and the Mac Jones led Patriots. Old Brady versus new Brady.
Dang it.
Belichick versus Brady. There's so much going on here. I mean, I love Tom Brady, right? But I also like Mac Jones. I really want to pick the Patriots here, but they just haven't looked great to start the season. So I think it's pretty easy. I'm going with the Bucks. I hope somebody picks the Patriots. I do think it's going to be a close game because I think it's okay. I don't know. I love Brady. I also love Belichick. I know I'm rambling on here. I apologize, but to see Belichick just design a game plan against Brady and just to watch them just like dethrone him would be also pretty awesome to see because I'm a fan of both guys. But hopefully it's a good game. There's a lot of hype around this, as you can tell by me continuing to talk. But yeah, I'm interested to see. I'll let you guys take it away now. Who do you like in this matchup?
Yeah, Drew, that was a good discussion for sure. I think a lot of people think the Bucks are going to just come in and blow them out in Foxborough, which teams don't do that a lot, and I don't expect them to do it in this one, man. I mean, I think this could be a lower scoring game. I would be a little bit hesitant to start my Buccaneers players personally. I think there's still starts. You got to play Brady, you got to play Mike Evans, but I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. When you look at Bill Belichick, there's nobody that knows Brady better than Bill, and there's also no one that knows Bill better than Brady. So it's going to be a really fun. I'm really, really, really excited for that. Only really that side of the ball, the Patriots defense versus the Buccaneers offense. That's going to be a chess match all game. I think Brady is going to make. I'm going to make a bold. I think he's going to throw 2 picks in this game. I think he's going to have some mistakes, but he's also going to have some big plays, and he's going to do enough to give them the win. So I am going to take Tampa Bay, even though I do kind of want to take New England, but I'm not going to.
You're also forgetting another return to New England, Gronk, obviously.
And Antonio Brown.
And Antonio Brown. Oh, if you want to count him too, but
it's one day.
Revenge game,
it's Miami.
Gronk got banged up last week, got hit in the ribs. Hopefully he plays this week. If he does, it's not a bold take, but I think he'll have a touchdown too. That'd be quite eventful. A Brady to Gronk connection, Foxborough. I picked New England last week. They lost to a worse offense than the Bucks. I'm gonna go with the Bucks this week.
Maybe we add a little extra bet here. Do you guys think is Brady and Gronk, are they going to get booed or no? Just real quick.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
There we go. I agree. There's been some people like, oh, they're going to boo the crap out of them because it's Boston.
They won 6 freaking championships there. There's
exactly.
No way.
I don't
they're gonna cheer like crazy, in my opinion.
Like
there'll probably be a few boo birds, but it won't be. The cheers will be louder than the boos, in my opinion. But I would love to see if they do boo them, because if they do. Forget everything I said. Brady's about to go out. Yeah, they'll blow them out by 35 easily. If they boo before the game, it's over. Game's over.
I think people are more upset with Belichick with how that breakup went than Brady.
As they should be.
Yeah. All right, so last game, Monday Night Football. Another kind of interesting game here. We got the 3-0 Raiders. Who would have thought that was going to happen? I mean, they can make the playoffs, but I feel like this happens every year. They get off to a hot start, and then they just fall on their face. This could be the beginning of them falling on their face, going against a really good Chargers team. I think, Chris, you're up here. Who do you like between the Raiders and the Chargers?
Oh, man. I thought the Raiders were fraudly coming into the year. I don't really anymore, but this one's in LA. I think the Chargers have looked really good. That Kansas City win was awesome. Justin Herbert looked great. I think this is the week the wheels come off for Las Vegas. I think this is going to be a shootout and a really fun one to watch. But the fact that it's in LA at SoFi, Justin Herbert's playing out of his mind, even though Derek Carr is also playing out of his mind. It's going to be a good game, man. I'm very excited for this one. I'm definitely going to be watching with open eyes for this one. Going to be very tuned into this game.
You mentioned the game being in LA, but actually just before we record this, I saw a quote from Derek Carr, kind of not bashing the Chargers for having no fans, but just saying how every time they've been away teams for those games, a lot of their fans came out. Apparently 75% of the fans will be the Raiders fans. I'm not surprised by that at all. I think Vegas, they're a good team, a good story of them being 3-0. However, I'll also be taking the Chargers. I think that not them being home is a big difference, but I think they're just playing really good football at the moment. And if it's a high scoring game, I don't think the Raiders offense will be able to match them.
Last time I picked the Raiders on Monday Night Football, they shocked the world and won. So maybe I should pick them again here. But I that Falcons pick really scared me. So I've been kind of playing it safe the rest of the way. I think the Chargers, they really made a statement last week. You could worry about some potential fall off, but I'm calling it right now. This is going to be Justin Herbert's this is going to be his game. Where I think like we're football nerds, so we know who he is. You do fantasy, you know who he is. But I feel like he hasn't had that game, that moment where it's like, boom, this is Justin Herbert on prime time. Maybe that was last week, but this week I think he really kind of cements himself one of the top quarterbacks in the game. Gets the gun against the Raiders team, who I think, speaking of, I don't know how you can the lost fraudus Raiders. I don't know how you can do that with the work fraud into there, but maybe I hate AFC West teams with the Raiders and Broncos. They're both frauds. Give me the Chargers. All right, so let's hop in now to the fantasy picks of the week, and then we'll get out of here. Roman, you can start us off here. Who do you like? Who's your first fantasy pick?
Yeah, it's actually a player in the game that we just finished talking about. It's Mike Williams for me. He's on a tear recently. He's a must start now in your lineups. And it's funny though, because Keenan Allen was also very productive on his end too. So the fact that they're both able to coexist in that offense is exactly what you're looking for. Herbert was in a new system in year 2. I mean, there were some question marks, but now they look rocking and rolling. And Mike Williams is definitely a start this week for me.
Yeah, I like that pick, Roman. I mean, I think he's almost entered must-start territory for me. He's a great player. He's really looked good, and they hyped him up a lot in the offseason. I thought he was a good sleeper, but I didn't really take him super seriously as a fantasy option. Now I definitely do. He's a high-end number 2 receiver for me, and probably honestly a wide receiver 1 against this Raiders secondary that I don't buy.
Yeah, good. I'm honestly happy because I feel like he was a top 5 pick a few years ago. I think people forget about that.
He's a good player, man. He's got a ton of talent.
Yeah, but we just seems like year after year we're waiting. Like he's like that late round flyer you take a chance on every draft, and it's awesome to see him finally be
he's
successful.
Playing for a contract next year. He'll definitely get one.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be stunned if the Chargers don't re-sign him. Personally.
Yeah, especially with Keenan Allen getting up there in age. I know he's a dog, but I mean, he's getting up there, and they're going to need another number 1 to kind of go along with Herbert's progression. And Williams has proved, at least so far, that he's that guy. But look out for Josh Palmer as well. But Chris, who's your fantasy pick?
Yeah, I got a theme with mine. It's a lot of bounce back candidates, guys that have gotten off to disappointing starts this year, have had things happen, injuries, being in the doghouse, things like that. I'm going to take my first pick is going to be in that Carolina-Dallas game. I'm going to take Robbie Anderson against the Dallas Cowboys. I think he has been terrible, but I expect DJ Moore to have Trevion Diggs on him all day. Robbie Anderson, no CMC most likely. I think Robbie could have a nice bounce back game this week. I'd be willing to play him in my flex. I'm calling for the breakout game this year. I still don't know if I can trust him. It's kind of like it was with the Jets, where you could always throw him in and hope for that bomb touch. I think he gets a little volume. They've been talking about getting him more involved. I think this is the week where it finally he puts it together with that old connection with Darnold. I think he's 580 and 5 for 80 and a touchdown. I could see it. He's not a wide receiver 1. He's not a must play. But if you're the underdog, or you need a flex, or you had CMC and you went out with an injury and you need a flex pretty much. I'm very happy throwing Robbie this week. I think this could be a nice week for him.
Yeah, I think many people were concerned with Robbie at the beginning of the season just because all the targets that he was going to get went to CMC. Obviously, he commands a lot of attention, but with him being out, I definitely like to see where he does this week. I mean, he'll only have a few weeks with CMC out because he's not going on the IR or anything, but he's definitely more startable this week than he probably would the rest of the season. Hopefully, he doesn't continue the downtrends that he's had so far.
Yeah, I mean, I have him on a lot of fantasy teams. He was one of my big kind of must-draft guys, and he's been awful. So hopefully, I mean, all great points. I hope it happens because CMC demands a lot of targets. There's that connection between Anderson and Darnold. They're good. They're good friends. So hopefully that works out. But I'll hop now into my first. I'll just do both my picks. So first of all, I want to say there's so many good. I know we don't do Thursday night players, but there's so many good Cincinnati players this week. Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, the Cincinnati defense. I mean, I love Joe Mixon, as Chris mentioned earlier. I wish we could pick those guys, but I'm not going to. I love all of them. I also like, if he's healthy, I'm not going to pick him, Elijah Mitchell. So sorry if anyone's going to pick him, but I do like him. The Seahawks defense sucks. So if he was healthy, and we knew that right now at the time of recording, I would put him as a pick. But fortunately, I'm not. I'm going to stick with the receivers though. I'm going away from the running back, going to the receivers. 2 guys. I've got Odell Beckham Jr. against the Vikings. He had a pretty solid first week last week, back from the ACL injury. Without Jarvis Landry, they're going against the Vikings.
He looked really good.
He looked really good. And they're going to the Vikings, giving up the 29th, or they're 29th in 29th in receiver fantasy points in terms of ESPN PPR. So mix that with the increased targets for Beckham. He's looked good. I think it's going to be a close game, so they're going to keep throwing the ball. I think Odell's going to have a big game. Kind of like, hey, he's back on the map. He's back and healthy. It could be that kind of game for him. Other guy is a guy who Chris actually just traded in our redraft league, and that's Jacoby Myers. He's projected. He's against the Buccaneers. They're dead last. They're 32nd in the league in terms of fantasy points for receivers. So they got a really bad secondary. We saw that exploited last week against the Rams. So I really like Jacoby Myers as well. So Odell and Jacoby are my guys for this week.
Yeah, I mean, I like both the picks. Myers could have a very solid week. This Tampa Bay secondary has not been great this year. Myers is a guy that gets a ton of targets. I don't think he has an insane amount of upside. This is why he's not on my roster anymore. I don't think he's a league winner, but he's a guy that you could throw in, get high-end flex production. He's going to get targets. He's going to catch the ball. He's still yet to score a touchdown in his NFL career somehow, and he's gotten like 150 targets. It's like some mind-blowing stat, in my opinion. He still hasn't gotten the end zone. Maybe this could be the week. We'll see here. But I don't know. I don't think he's going to score, but I think he can give you, 6 for 70, 8 for 75, something like that. I think he'll give you some kind of stat line like that. And then Odell, ton of targets last week. Honestly, I was really impressed with the way he played in a game that they didn't really need him in. He was pretty fantasy relevant, at least a guy you could throw in the flex. I think it's the same recipe. Kind of like he's like a, Robbie Anderson's like a Walmart version of him where you could throw him and I mean, I would play OBJ as a low-end number 2, but if you have him in your flex, he could pop, he could not. But I think this is a much better situation for him to smack around this Minnesota secondary.
Yeah, I got nothing to add. Both are good players. Although I guess who knows what Sherman's role will be when they play when they play the Patriots.
He hadn't played football in like a year. So
yeah, and he wasn't that great even when he was still playing.
He's lost a step. I mean, it's an upgrade from their secondary for sure. I honestly don't know if he's even going to play this week. I assume he probably will, but he's got to get acclimated to that defense. So
when did he get signed? Wednesday? I mean, that's a pretty quick turnaround, just a few days. Yeah. I mean, there's a chance that he already was in communications with the Bucs before that, so he might already know their defense and everything. So, but hey, Chris, how about you get into your? Oh, sorry, Roman, to cut you off, but Chris, get us into your final fantasy pick.
Yeah, my last pick is you mentioned the Niners game. I like that side of the ball against Seattle. Elijah Mitchell is an interesting pick, but my pick is going to be, and this is similar to a lot of my picks on my list, Brandon Ayuk. Last week, played a ton, got a touchdown, a decent game. I think he had 13 or 14 PPR points, which is, I mean, it's nothing special, but he was on the field a ton. He's definitely out of the doghouse now. I think Brandon Ayuk this could be his breakout game. I mean, honestly, Deebo Samuel is another guy that you absolutely willing to start in fantasy. I mean, he's a must start at this point. Ayuk's not on that level. He's kind of like, again, this is similar. I think he's more in that OBJ tier where you absolutely should. He's like a should start. If you can avoid playing him, you got good enough options. Don't do it, but he's a guy that's probably in a majority of your lineups. You drafted him pretty high. This is the time to play him now that you've seen it out on the field, and I think he's a number 2 wide receiver this week.
Yeah, I don't hate the pick at all. I mean, he's definitely shown he can go back into fantasy lineups after stinking of the first couple weeks. Him and Deebo, I think they're a great duo for them. I mean, Deebo is a must start. I think Ayuk is definitely startable this week in a game where it could be very high scoring. And San Francisco has a lot of opportunity. I think Ayuk is a good pick for sure.
I'm worried, but like you said, Chris, you're going with some bounce back guys. Ayuk has also been awful to start the year. I mean, you could make an argument that him and Robbie Anderson are the 2 most disappointing fantasy players outside of maybe like CMC and Dalvin because they got hurt. But both guys have gone off to brutal starts, but they got good matchups. So I'm fans of both guys. So hopefully they can kind of turn it around here in week 4. But Roman, finish us off. Who's your final fantasy pick?
Yeah, it's actually be 2 guys.
Awesome.
However, I will mention that these 2 guys are very, very deep players. And I'd put these picks on par with maybe the Adrian Peterson one of last year. So just prepare yourselves. All right. So first player, I'm going to go back to the Raiders-Chargers game. And if Josh Jacobs is out, Peyton Barber is startable. I mean, if you have a handcuff guy, I mean, he had like 27 fantasy points last week. Gruden was obviously very high on him. He'll say he'll go if Josh Jacobs is out. He said he'll put Barber back into the primary role. So if Josh Jacobs is out, Peyton Barber might be a startable player, but who knows? I mean, depending on the game script, I think he can do what he did, but also they still have Drake. So that's just something to keep worry about.
Yeah, let me cut you off really quick. You'd have to put a gun to my head to put if you see Peyton Barber in any of my fantasy lineups this week, it's because somebody hacked my computer or somebody literally put a gun to my head. It's like you have to play him because you can't make me play this guy, man. I know he had a great week. He looked all right out there against Miami, which is not a slouch defense, but I just cannot. I will play I might play Jock Patrick over him, man. I cannot do it. I physically he might have a great fantasy game, man. I'm not even hating on the actual pick. He could be decent if you can. Just don't watch the game, take some Tums, and maybe you could throw him into your lineup if you need a running back. But I'm not going to do it. I get it. If he has a nice game,
Tums.
he can talk some crap. But, yeah, you're really going to love him after playing Peyton Barber, too, because he's the master of the 1-yard carry. He may fall in the end zone, man. I don't know. And he caught some passes last week. He had a great week, man. I just can't do it. I physically cannot do it. That might be all the points he has all season.
Well, yeah. When you think of Peyton Barber, you don't think of him as a startable player, which is I'm surprised he went off last week, too.
I don't think of him as an NFL player.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know he was still on the roster before last week. So that's how much I know about him. But I mean,
he was kind of fantasy relevant, like way back when he was with the Bucks. Like we're talking like 4 years ago.
He was like the Frank Gore, where he could get you 15 for 60, and he might catch one pass for 5 yards. You're getting 7 points. Hey, if you want that, take it.
Anyway, all right, Roman, who's your next guy?
Who's your next guy? All right, this is maybe the worst pick I've ever selected, and you guys probably don't even know who he is. Similar to Jock Patrick at level, but we're going to go into the Titans-Jets game. And obviously, if Brown and Julio does not play, I mean, sure, it could be a purely rushing game, but you got to pick someone up maybe that's going to have production. I think any wide receiver in that game could have production, right? And I'd actually look this player's name up because I didn't know how to pronounce it right.
Oh, it is.
His name is Nick Westbrook Akina. Had a touchdown last week. I mean, they have Chester Rogers. They have Reynolds coming back. This guy, Nick Westbrook Akina, I put him on the level of Jock Patrick level of a boomer bust kind of guy. I mean, it's the Jets, so if it's the 1 week you can start him in a flex, it could be this week. Unless you're in a very deep league, then he might become a better pick. But I think that's a guy that could be startable, maybe with a touchdown. But that's all you might get from him, depending on obviously if Brown and Julio is out. With both out, you definitely get production out of him. With one out, probably not, but you'll definitely get some action. He had a touchdown last week. Maybe you can do it again versus the Jets, though. So,
yeah, hey man, I'm not even gonna try to say his name, but I actually picked him up for a minute today in me and Drew's redraft league. I ended up dropping him because I saw some news about Deshaun Watson potentially getting traded. I decided to pick him up and see what happens because I don't really need this guy and I don't need to start him this week because Deontay Johnson should be back out there and he's on my team now after a nice trade. But anyways, someone's gonna catch the ball. It could be Chester Rogers. If Anthony Ferguson plays, it could be him. I mean, this is a desperation play, but honestly, he had a nice week last week. I could see it happening again for Nick. I'm not even gonna try to say this.
No, I like the pick a lot too. I mean, we can sometimes rip on you, Roman, for maybe going with the safer end of the pick. So you went out here and you listed two guys. Peyton Barber obviously got a really disgusting reaction from a lot of us. And I'm not Nick, the Titans receiver. I'm not gonna try to pronounce his last name either. I like it too. I mean, like you said, they're gonna have to throw the ball a little bit. Clearly, Tannehill trusts him because he scored a touchdown last week. So. Good matchup, obviously. So yeah, if you're trying to get some deep cuts, I like that pick a lot. But yeah, do you guys have anything else you want to add here before we get out of here?
No, just ready to watch this Bengals game that's about to start. Watch my guy Joe Mixon win me $100. I'm hoping for it. Joe Mixon plus 125. Joe Mixon to score a touchdown, and Joe Mixon over 15.5 receiving yards. I need all three of those things to hit, and the Bengals to win by any amount of score. And I'll be up $100, so it could be a good night for me. And then I got him in fantasy too, so just hoping he doesn't get injured too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. It's the first time I've sat down and watched Burrow and Lawrence all year, so I think it'll be a good matchup between those two at least.
Looking forward to. I am looking forward to it. I think this is going to be a fun game. Probably going to be ugly, but hey.
I think the Cincinnati might blow him out. I think Cincinnati might blow him out. I think Jamar Chase might go off too. That's just gonna be really fun to watch as a Jamar Chase fantasy owner. But
Jamal Agnew kick return touchdown, anyone?
No, just kidding.
Maybe. James Robinson, 95 yards to the house. I'll sign me up for that.
He's gonna have a good game though.
Yeah, that is true.
Sure.
But So that'll be it for this episode. Once again, we are the Zone Defense Podcast. We do these episodes on the NFL every single week, along with fantasy analysis and breaking news, emergency podcast episodes. So be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Spotify and Twitter at Zone Defense Pod, and search us on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss any of that awesome content. Also, smash that like button down below and drop a comment. Let us know what you thought about Roman's deep cut fantasy picks, any of our fantasy picks from this week, or our NFL game picks, anything like that. We love reading your comments and responding to them as quickly as we can. So, thank you again for listening to this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
See ya.